is gone from the tournament, and this hurts. This hurts that this is gone.
What if I told you that Sam Bradford's game face looks like a guy who, while sitting at the dinner table with his wife and kids, gets a text from his girlfriend saying she is pregnant?
Gone from the tournament, evaporated by Purdue. Purdue, a 4-seed advance. That means this advances.
Rachel Nichols looks like the mom in the floor cleaner commercial who reacts to her kids spilling grape juice and her dog's muddy paw prints with a loving head shake and a wry smile.
She does.
Yeah.
We're happy that advances.
We sure are.
Michigan has advanced as a 7-seed. They're really fun to watch. Gosh, they can beat you a lot of different ways offensively. 7-seed Michigan advances. That means this advances.
What if I told you that Roy Williams looks like a dog show judge who awards Best in Show to the Scottish Terrier, handled by Brad Stevens?
So good.
It is good.
So good.
But so was Louisville, a 2-seed, and the 2-seed is now gone. And this is unfortunate for all people who care about our tournament.
What if I told you that Jim Leland looks like the grizzled old cowboy who, when asked why your group can't press on after nightfall, slowly lights his pipe and replies, "Wolves," as he stares ominously into the crackling flames of the campfire?
Ouch.
That really hurts.
Ouch.
Really hurts.
Oh,
man.
had me rooting for that vampire Rick Pitino. Wichita State is gone from the tournament as a 10-seed. That means this is gone.
What if I told you that Stan Van Gundy looks like the cartoon chef you find on a generic pizza box?
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Deserved a better seed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you can't argue with number 2 Kentucky advancing. You can't argue with it, man. Go Google this. Google Bill Levy. I'll wait a second. Hold on a second. Google image search Bill Levy. Leavy.
If you're driving, pull over
yes,
and do this.
Yes,
please.
do this now, please. Right now, people, if you're driving, pull over to the side of the road, Google image search Bill Levy. Leavy. This has advanced.
What if I told you that former NFL official Bill Levy looks like if you break the curse, his body will dissolve into scarabs that scurry back into the pyramid?
Give me more of the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Thank you for calling Advance Auto Parts and Batteries. This is Jason.
Hey, Jason, the ball joint on my car broke. What kind do you carry?
We carry Moogs. They're the best out there.
They stack up better than the other ones.
But Moogs are a better quality, and they last a lot longer. There's really no competition.
You really know your stuff. If I'm in a wedding next week, should I go half or full wins or not?
That one I don't know.
Advance Auto Parts. We know everything about auto parts. Stop by Advance for premium quality ball joints from Moog with a limited lifetime warranty. Make it one and done with Moog.
Burger King presents Breakfast Stories. Here's Pete, Tony, and the 2 for $4 croissant deal.
The other day, Pete and I go to Burger King for my croissant. You know, they're just 2 for $4.
Oh, it's my favorite. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so I got 2 croissant, and I get one of this guy.
I'm like, who are you?
I'm the guy that just paid for your breakfast.
That's my favorite guy.
You guys. The croissant deal is 2 for $4. Now made with 100% butter for a soft and flaky croissant. Get 2 croissant sandwiches now for $4 only at Burger King. Price and participation vary.
Experience the credit union difference. It's people helping people. Our goal is to serve all of our members well, including those of modest means. Our members are fiercely loyal for this reason. They know their credit union will be there for them in bad times as well as good. Experience the credit union difference with the U of I Community Credit Union. Visit one of our branches today or visit us at uoficreditunion.org.
U of I Community Credit Union for campus and community.
From keeping your money safe and secure to helping achieve your financial dreams, the U of I Community Credit Union brings a fighting spirit to the financial wellness of this entire community. Experience the credit union difference. People helping people. And we're helping even more in 2017 with our brand new Member Advice Center. Get free online articles and blogs on a variety of topics related to your financial well-being. Go to uoficreditunion.org.
Hi, it's Corey with Max Twin City Recycling. We pride ourselves on giving the area an outlet to recycle and get paid for their unwanted metals. We're taking our community focus a step further with our Recycling for a Cause program. Each month, Max Twin City will choose a different local charity to feature in an effort to raise money for those causes. Visit maxrecycling.com for a complete list of program details.
As the leader in fire protection and security systems for industrial, commercial, and residential buildings, Matco features exceptional protection. Matco installs, maintains, and inspects fire sprinklers, alarms, CCTV, security systems, and access-controlled systems. Their vigilance is a must-have priority to protect your assets. Matco's digital monitoring and veteran personnel are your best security investment. Their 24-hour emergency service ensures that you are covered at all times. Contact Matco at matcofire.com.
Check out the new BMW of Champaign. It's not like the old Twin City. They have new on-site local ownership since 2013, along with a new state-of-the-art facility. With a Customer First Service Award winner for 2015, BMW of Champaign does business your way. Yes, they have tons of cars. Yes, they'll get you what you want. Yes, they discount, deal, and even pick up and deliver. So stop in, ask for Ben, and give BMW of Champaign a look. BMW of Champaign at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy.
This is Starla Carr with Provident Financial Group. Are you sure you're on track to reach your retirement goals? Wondering how much money you'll need to last your lifetime? Whether you're retiring in a few weeks or a few years, we can analyze your needs and create a plan that's right for you. Find us online at ProvidentFinancialGroupLLC.com. Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network.
Provident, partnerships built on trust.
Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, it's me, your old AC. We need to talk, man. I am out of hair. Trust me. It's not going to get much better. I need to be replaced. Call the experts and get a new air conditioner that will save up to 50% on energy bills. Go ahead. Do it. I'll be right here. Whew.
At Chief Bauer Service Experts, save up to $4,000 on a new home comfort system. Call 866-EXPERTS or visit chiefbauer.com. For expert service guaranteed.
Call 866-EXPERTS.
Join the Champaign Parks Foundation for a night of dancing, singing, and laughing to benefit Champaign Parks and programs on Saturday night, April 1st at the City Center. Doors open at 7, with comedian Chris Schlichting taking the stage at 7:30, followed by Mike and Joe, one of the nation's most renowned rock cover bands who will get you moving to cover tunes from the 90s through today. Brought to you by Scotty's Brewhouse and Stevie J Broadcasting. Get your tickets for $10 or $20. Available now or at the door. ChampaignParks.com.
Coach Mike Ditka is not just talking sports. What will he say next? Hear him here Monday and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 8 with Brother Johnny and me, Stevie J, on ESPN Radio 93.5.
We meet again, Carp.
Indeed.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good. It's kind of unusual to be here at 11:30 on a Monday morning.
Without a doubt.
Whatever.
It's a special edition of the Tay and J Show. We are going to have our normal Tay and J Show today from 3 to 6, and we're excited about a couple of guests that we're going to have on in that time period. But right now we decided, why not? Let's come on the air. Let's talk about this. It's the news that is happening around Central Illinois right now. And for Illini fans everywhere, Josh Whitman has found his guy, Mike Carpenter, and today at noon will formally announce the new head coach at the University of Illinois.
And who is this guy?
Who is he?
For a little bit of timeline, on Friday night, there was some buzz around Archie Miller.
Yes.
And talk of a potential meeting in Indianapolis. So a lot of Illini fans understandably got excited. I certainly did.
Absolutely.
And then Saturday unfolded rather unusually, where all of a sudden, no, there was no meeting with Archie, and there might be Shad Khan's playing in Stillwater. And before you know it, just like Josh Whitman has done, out comes a tweet with him and the new coach, Brad Underwood, with "We Will Win." Already has the Illini gear and everything. Yep. And that all happened on Saturday. There were, from what I understand, conversations beforehand through agents and such.
Sure.
And we'll find out more of those details today. But it certainly was a name that if I think back, I'm a little surprised that we didn't give that name more credence.
We didn't. I didn't even think about that name. I'll be honest with you. I did not even think about Brad Underwood as the new coach at Illinois. I hadn't even thought about that. And we had talked countless hours of all these other names. And I know a mentor of mine, he's the SIU play-by-play, Mike Reese. Mike tweeted at me, about a week ago and said, don't ever forget, Lon, it's always the name that's not expected that ends up being the coach.
Right.
Josh Whitman certainly did that in football with Lovie Smith. And he has certainly done that again with Brad Underwood, who is, if you don't know, the Oklahoma State coach for a year, and then he is the one that led Stephen F. Austin for those 3 years. They were that team that you wanted to take upsetting people in the NCAA tournament.
And he won 2 games there.
So he got them to a Sweet 16 1 year, 3 years there, one at Oklahoma State. Now he bolts for Illinois. 4 years as a head coach. And 4 straight trips to the NCAA tournament.
No Sweet 16, actually.
Oh, no, so that's right. They lost by a point to Notre Dame.
That's right. It was a tough loss to Notre Dame that would have kept them from getting there. And then, of course, we saw on Friday the game against Michigan. That was something else. But, if you look at what he has done in the 1 year, because the question, of course, is, all right, Stephen F. Austin, what is that?
Yep,
right. I mean, what can we take from 3 years of Stephen F. Austin in the Southland Conference? Not a lot of competition. But when you look at what he did at Oklahoma State, and in 1 year, the amount of improvement that team had. In 2017, the Pomeroy rankings, those are the analytics that we often use to determine how good a team is or is not. Wisconsin was 21. Cincinnati was 22. Oklahoma State was 23.
Wow.
Nationally.
Okay.
This was a team that had a rough start in January in conference, but then they got things together, had the number 1 adjusted offense in the nation. And then you look at 2016, Oklahoma State 98th in Ken Pom. That's a pretty significant increase in 1 year. And yeah, you had Juwan Evans.
Sure.
You also had another player whose name escapes me right now, who may be a grad transfer for Illinois. We'll wait and see. But not a lot of talent outside of that. So what it tells me is you have a certifiably very good X's and O's coach.
Yes.
The recruiting questions, understand that, but that's where the staff comes in. And it sounds like, and we'll talk to Jeremy about this, that we will have quite the budget to work with like football.
Okay. And that will include Jamal Walker, of course, who will be retained, it sounds like, as an assistant at Illinois. We should hopefully find that out today at the press conference as well. Again, the press conference will be at noon today. Josh Whitman will introduce Brad Underwood as the new coach, and he's a guy, like you said, that he took Oklahoma State's offense. They averaged 66 points a game, and then all of a sudden now, this year, averaged almost 86 points a game under Brad Underwood. The thing that I am impressed about as well, and these are a couple of names that I'm not sure a lot of fans know a lot about. They know them, but they're not sure even their style. Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Those are 2 no-nonsense guys that Underwood has coached under and learned from. If you don't know Huggins and if you don't know Martin, and those 2 guys, by the way, just both won games to get into the Sweet 16, they kind of have that style, Carp, of they don't take, it's a no-nonsense style. They're tough. And it seems like Brad Underwood is going to bring a little bit of that mentality to Illinois, plus this offense, which it sounds like a lot of recruits, it sounds like a lot of players will enjoy playing it.
Yeah, just relentless style of basketball that's a lot of fun to watch, and that is one key thing. When it comes to recruiting, let's take Mark Smith, for example, and that's the big name that we're kind of waiting to see if he will come to Illinois, and there's a lot of things going in Illinois' favor. This helps that immensely, I would think, knowing that Mark Smith is a guy that likes to fill it up, and this is an offense which does allow for freedom. Now, we talked a lot of the same things about John Gross's offense, but the big difference was you didn't have a point guard, and you had a lot of these long droughts. Now, yes, you need talent to execute something like this. That's why Juwan Evans had the year that he did. But if you're Trent Frazier, who already confirmed his commitment this weekend on Twitter,
that's huge.
He's coming here. Him, Tijon, a Mark Smith, if you add that, Jalen Coleman-Lands in this offense.
He's the guy that could really benefit from this offense.
Michael Finke. Fine. Here, you can be a true stretch 4 and really get up and down the court, and you will get your threes. You'll get your opportunities. So there's a lot of excitement. And what also excites me, and I was telling Austin this before we started, there will be, it'd be a rare matchup for Illinois to go into it and me think that, they might get outcoached today.
Sure.
And when Konzo got hired by Missouri last week, of course, there was some apprehension from Illinois fans thinking he's going to get a ton of talent. Listen, the numbers would bear this out. Underwood is an immensely better X's and O's coach than Konzo Martin. if he gets the talent, there's no reason that all these lofty expectations that he and Josh Whitman are setting forth, that they can't accomplish something like that. Because whether it's what John Beilein has done at Michigan as your template, there's no reason that with talent he can't do that here.
So the press conference at noon today, and again, Tay and J Show from 3 to 6, we will actually have Coach Brad Underwood come into studio here at the radio station. He's going to join us, as will Josh Whitman, and we will be excited to talk with them. Of course, after he's introduced, then he'll kind of go on his little media run, and we're always excited to be a part of that. Right now, let's head to the Jupiter's The Crossing phone line. A guy that is at the press conference, getting ready for that to start in about 22 minutes, is Jeremy Werner, of course, from the Tay and J Show, also IlliniInquirer.com. How are you, Jeremy?
Doing great, boys. Big day.
It is a big day, right? NIT game, oh, by the way, tonight. But how about this? Lovie Smith came out of nowhere with that hire. Josh Whitman did it again, Jeremy, with a guy that we had not even discussed one time on the show in terms of Brad Underwood. What were your thoughts on that Saturday when you heard?
I got to give Brad Evans credit. He was we were texting throughout this thing, and he told me, man, Brad Underwood would be a good fit. And he's not getting paid anything at Oklahoma State. And, of course, Lon, I texted you on Saturday, a couple hours. I kept hearing his name, and I'll start with this, guys. Josh Whitman's a pro. He schooled an athletic director of 12 years at Oklahoma State. Mike Holder really got outplayed here.
Right.
He lowballed his coach last year and then didn't show him enough love, and Josh Whitman swooped in on that once he heard it, knew that Brad Underwood was a really, really good coach, and thought that style would fit here, and he just outschooled that guy. So you have there's another proof that Josh Whitman is a complete pro at what he does. Didn't need a search firm to do all this. Discussed a lot of this stuff with his agents. Underwood, I heard they really started talking about midweek to late last week before the NCAA tournament started. And then he met with Underwood on Saturday morning, and Underwood was ready to go. He obviously likes this job. He thinks it's a good one. Was at Western Illinois for a dozen years, and said this morning on the Score that everybody he knew was an Illini fan then, so he wants to bring that back. But this is a very good hire. The industry loves this one, guys. He's one of the better coaches out there, X's and O's wise. You guys were just talking about his style of play. Now it's about the staff and putting that together for recruits. But recruits are going to want to play in this style. We talked about Tony Bennett all the time. Some recruits didn't want to play in that style, and Mark Smith kind of had reservations about that. But if you watch Juwan Evans this past year, they were 12-20 under Travis Ford, and Evans was good. But then he gets an Underwood system, and they go 20-12, and Juwan Evans is All-American, likely first-round draft pick. So he's got that to sell. Plus, he's going to have a lot of money to spend on the staff, just like Lovie Smith, guys. Whitman's going to give Underwood a lot of money for the staff. We'll see if Jamal Walker stays. I would imagine Lamont Evans, his top guy at Oklahoma State, will come with him, and then he can probably go get another big recruiter on the staff as well. But money's not going to be an issue from what I've heard.
That might be one benefit, too, of not spending the $5 million per year on the head coach, which I know that they had quite a war chest to work with, but now they can divvy that up elsewhere. And I was thinking about this over the weekend, Jeremy, when this name popped up, and it was so hard to not go down that rabbit hole and get excited about the young, sexy names.
Sure.
The Archie Millers and the Tony Bennett and Greg Marshall, for that matter. But as you look at the numbers and you look at what he's accomplished in his 4-year career as a head coach, it seems like Brad Underwood, when you put him up against those other guys, there's nothing to suggest that he isn't maybe, the top candidate. I don't know if that's quite the right way to put it, but that he isn't as capable of as much success as any of those guys.
Yeah, I talked to a Big 12 assistant, a staff member, I should say, that absolutely loves this hire for Illinois. I asked him about Underwood as a coach, and he said he was really impressed with what he was able to do with Oklahoma State, a team that Travis Ford, again, went 12-20 with last year. And Illini fans will love this. They were, 0-6 to start Big 12 play. And they were kind of running this West Virginia, he learned under Huggins, this kind of press system, this pressure system. And then he completely scrapped it because it wasn't working. They couldn't stop anybody at the rim.
Interesting.
So he went to a pack line defense, and they won 10 of 11 games. So he's not locked in. He's not stubborn as the last coach was about things. He's willing to change. He's willing to change his system based on his personnel. Obviously, he's got his offensive system, but he kind of knew this year's defense wasn't going to be great, but he found out what worked. And obviously with the offense that he had, they were number one in offensive efficiency, scored 86 points a game this past year. I don't expect that to immediately translate to Illinois, but it's just a sign of a good coach that he makes adjustments, something we've talked about all year, and finds a way to get the most out of his players. And when he's taking over a roster and a recruiting class that has some talent, that's pretty exciting.
Without a doubt. And Jeremy, I know, as you mentioned, you had texted me Saturday early in the morning, and I started doing some research on Brad Underwood. The thing that stuck out to me was the $1 million salary. I'm like, he's only making $1 million at Oklahoma State. And then when the hire was announced and you start looking, and you mentioned it, the national pundits love this hire. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, this is a guy that I think maybe Illinois fans, and the reason I'm skewing this question to you, maybe a lot of Illinois fans around here, and I even had that same sentiment Saturday. I was around a bunch of people, and they're like, Brad Underwood, you think that's a good hire? And then as we started to kind of, dig into his background and see what he was able to do and who he learned from with Martin and Huggins, I like that idea. And then the fact that these national pundits all came out and loved this hire, I think now Illinois fans are kind of on board and pretty excited about getting him in place.
I think the first reaction was, huh?
Yeah, right.
Because you kind of knew his name, but he wasn't one we talked about a lot.
Nope.
And he doesn't have that Archie Miller or Tony Bennett or even Scott Drew or Greg Marshall kind of thing. But when you do delve into it, I want to say there is a tendency for us to, whenever there's a hire, rationalize it, right? Like with Tim Beckman, it's like, well, he had this success. He,
right.
he coached under these guys, and then with John Gross, well, they played best in March, and Illinois hasn't done that in a long time. But with this guy, it is kind of hard to find something outside of the recruiting angle. He's not a proven recruiter, but he's a proven coach with a great tree, and that's gotten the most out of his talent. What he did at Stephen F. Austin, I don't care what conference you guys are in.
Amen.
It's 53-1 is domination, and it's the exact opposite of what John Gross did. And this is a stat that just is simple, but he made 4 straight NCAA tournaments at Stephen F. Austin and Oklahoma State. Illinois has not made an NCAA tournament in 4 years. I think that's pretty impressive, and you've upgraded.
Jeremy, I was listening to some of the interview after he had arrived at Willard, and like I usually do, I go to YouTube and search out old interviews, try to get a feeling for the personality.
Yes, right.
And I'm not going to make any Bill Self comparisons because that is a charismatic guy that is one of a kind, certainly. But I do think there was a sort of understated Midwestern charisma. In other words, if we're talking about a personality fit for this area, for the University of Illinois, I think in that way, too, Brad Underwood is a sneaky good hire. It just seems to kind of meld well with the personality of this town, of this state, for that matter.
I think some people kind of saw John Gross as too friendly with his players.
Right.
I think Underwood is more, old school. I don't want to say too old school, but like Frank Martin. I think he's a lot like Frank Martin. Maybe not as demonstrative on the court, but he is demonstrative on the court. But he's demanding. He loves his players, but he demands a lot of his players. And I was told by that same Big 12 staffer that you guys in the media are going to love him. He's honest. He's honest about his team, but he gets the most out of those players, and those players play really, really hard for him. So when Josh Whitman talks about fit, I think this guy will really fit with Illinois personality-wise. And the guy I talked to, again, said, it's a lofty comparison, but he said it could be Bill Self 2.0, and I think it might be a little bit more, Lon Kruger, Bill Selfish, but I think both those guys really like Brad Underwood. Both those guys reached out to Underwood after this, and he's going to talk with them. So I think it's kind of a Kruger-esque hire with a guy with a really good background, and the only other guy besides Kruger you've stolen with a Power 5 job.
There's so many questions, and we're going to, of course, talk about this all day on the Tay and J Show, but he's 53. I think he'll be 54 years old when the season starts, so not exactly a younger coach, but kind of in the prime, if you will, of a coach that has been 3 years at Stephen F. Austin, just the 1 year at Oklahoma State. I guess that's the one thing that maybe some Illinois fans, some of the ones I talked to were like, is this going to be a guy that might be jumping ship here? But, Illinois goes with a pretty big offer, obviously, on the table, both financially and years, and it seems like, this is a good fit to where he can just kind of settle into this program and get Illinois back, hopefully, to where it has been in the past.
We've discussed this before, guys, but if your coach is wanted by other schools, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
That's number one. And then 2, you got to trust Josh Whitman here.
Yes.
And everything he's done would tell you that he's earned trust. I mean, he tripled Underwood's salary. If Underwood does well, I'd imagine he'd keep him. Kevin Hamley, that's a good example of that. He wanted to keep him when another school came after him, and he gave him a big-time offer Kevin obviously couldn't pass up Stanford, just like Bill Self probably wouldn't have passed up Kansas if Josh Whitman were the one making the offer.
Correct.
But he's going to do everything he can to keep that guy here. People talk about the Kansas State Opens. He played there. Would he go there? Well, I would trust Josh Whitman to get the job done, and that Underwood knows that Illinois is a better job than Kansas State.
As I'm looking at this too and trying to think about, how quickly this could translate to on-court success, you hit it too. 4 tournaments in 4 years.
Right.
And I look at next year's roster, and certainly there's some guys that I think will benefit greatly from having an offense like this. But that's what we've talked about so much, Jeremy, is just make the tournament. And at least with Brad Underwood, with that hire, you feel as if more often than not, at least if they have players on this team, more often than not, he's going to find a way in the tournament. And maybe one template to kind of look off of would be a John Beilein at Michigan, who, yes, he has the occasional off year, but you at least feel going into most games like you are not going to get out-coached.
That's kind of the lead to my column here today, Carr, probably is, did Illinois find its John Beilein? It wasn't the sexiest hire, but came from a Power 5 school, where he had an identity, he had a system. He recruited that system, and not just to the rankings, right? Didn't recruit players that he was told to recruit. He recruited players that fit his system, and he was confident. He was strong enough to say no to people that, were pushing him to do one thing or the other. I wonder if they got that guy here. But he does have something to work with. I think Michael Finke fits in this pace and space offense really, really well. It's a lot of high post action. That fits his skill set so well. I think even LaRon Black fits in that too. And then Jalen Coleman-Lands, obviously you need shooters, but a guy like Trent Frazier has to be licking his chops. And if I'm Mark Smith, I'm sitting there going, boy, look what they did with Jawan Evans. I think if they would have hired Tony Bennett, I think that might actually kind of hurt them with Mark Smith. But in this kind of offense, I think that can help. And even a guy like Jeremiah Tillman. I know he hasn't had bigs like Jeremiah Tillman, but he can run the court. He can get up and down. He can protect the rim. I think this would appeal to him as well, as long as Jamal Walker's kept.
If he's able to retain these 4, and I think so far, we've heard from DeMonte and Trent Frazier both saying we're good. Have not heard yet from Jeremiah Tillman. I assume that's going to hinge a lot on Jamal Walker being retained, and of course, who am I forgetting? Javon Pickett.
Poor
as
Javon.
Well.
I know. We love Javon.
I know. It's too bad, and that guy hopefully will come here and just be the star of that class. But Jeremy, you talk about recruiting. We don't know yet about Brad Underwood as a recruiter. And a lot of times you try to figure out ties. Okay, he's from Kansas. He's from that area. Will he be able to recruit there? He's from Oklahoma State. I know even at Stephen F. Austin, he actually talked with Trent Frazier, and that kind of helped with regards to having that kind of trait with regards to them. But he also was an assistant, like you mentioned earlier, at Western Illinois for 12 years. I think that's big, Jeremy, because, even though you're recruiting different players from Western as opposed to Illinois, you're still meeting a lot of high school coaches in this state, and I think he's got to jump on that, and it sounds like a lot of the coaches in the state do like Brad Underwood.
Yeah, I think he's got to introduce himself to a lot of people still.
Sure.
Because he's come into this state, but, when he got hired, a lot of people responded with, I don't know who that is. So, I don't know him. So he's got to do a lot of that work in the spring and the summer and reach out to those coaches and get the right assistant. That's an important thing, but you got to build that up. You got to be seen a lot. You have to be comfortable with these people. I don't think John Gross ever was seen enough up in Chicago. Paris Parham was, but you need more people than that. You need to make a huge presence up there. But as I said, you also need to make sure that you recruit to your guys and pick your guys. He helped recruit Jacob Poland out of Kansas State, so he's obviously got a connection there. But I think it's just about the work. People look at his resume just like fans are today. I think that's interesting, and I think they'll give him a chance. But that's all about building up those relationships.
Well, we're going to let you work. Get ready for the press conference in about 9 minutes with Josh Whitman. Last question for you. Do you think we'll hear anything about Jamal Walker today?
I doubt it. He said today on the score, and he said yesterday that, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than people want when it comes to the staff and filling that thing out, which is a concern given the recruiting class you have. But from what I understand, Jamal Walker is talked with Josh Whitman throughout this process. I think they want to let him coach throughout this NIT before they really hunker down and get everything taken care of. At least that's what they're saying publicly. But I would expect that to, probably be done after their NIT run, whenever that ends, which could end Monday, could end Wednesday, or could go into next week. So, Jamal Walker obviously gets to Jeremiah Tillman most likely. He has a good relationship with Mark Smith. But Brad Underwood's got to do what he thinks is best.
Right.
If he's more comfortable with somebody else, even if it means you lose somebody, this is about hiring a head coach and trusting him to do what he's got to do. But obviously it's appealing to start your roster with a 5-star big man and maybe have a good in on, the best player in the state this past year.
It'd be unreal. It would be unreal. Jeremy Warner, we will hear from you then today. I'll see you at 3 when we do the Tay and J Show. And, of course, we'll have Josh Whitman and Coach in about 4:30. Looking forward to that. So we'll talk to you then, my friend.
All right, thanks, boys.
All right, buddy. Jeremy Warner. I like this statement that Brad Underwood released on Saturday, and he said, quote, next season can't get here fast enough for me. He's excited. I'm excited. Let me throw a caveat in that. As long as you tell me these 4 guys and Mark Smith are coming, then next season can't get here fast enough for me. I think with a new direction, and I think you said it, with a coach now that I feel like every time out on that court, you're not going to have a coach that's maybe a lot of times wasn't prepared. I don't think. And,
no, it's true.
Not necessarily a rip on John, but it is. I mean, I just think he got out coached a lot, and I think you saw that with regards to bad starts in games, bad starts to halves,
bad possessions out of timeouts,
no, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So now you feel as though Brad Underwood is a guy that is going to take care of that, especially offensively, because they're going to score a lot of points.
Yes.
And now with this recruiting class coming in, I mean, it does get you excited, Carp, again, for Illinois basketball. Now, he's still got to come here and do the job. He's got to get this done. We could be sitting here in 3 years and frustrated with it, but it sounds like with this class coming in, thanks to John Gross and the staff, and with Brad Underwood's ability to coach, I think Illinois basketball's in good hands here for the next few years.
It is a caveat that I cannot pretend to not be a little bit wary of this.
I agree with you.
In other words, when it comes to Jamal Walker and the connections that he has with the staff, and I'm thinking, yeah, it might take longer. Just give him the contract.
Right.
Like, in other words, don't overthink this. Because certainly you want guys that you're comfortable with on that staff, no doubt about it. At the same time, though, this is a golden opportunity to win immediately. Now, how big are they going to win next year, even with the best case scenario roster? I don't know. But I still think that's tournament level talent.
Sure.
And I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation to put on a coach, even if it is their first year. Because, well, he did at Oklahoma State his first year. John Gross did it here his first year because he had some really good seniors on that roster. So I think if you add to the mix, here's our new coach. Certainly, this is a long-term play.
Right.
We expect Brad Underwood to have success 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now. And whatever happens with one guy or 2 guys may not make that big of a difference. But momentum is everything. You can springboard this program into immediate success and immediate momentum if you hold on to these guys and get Mark Smith.
Without a
and
doubt.
It's right there for the taking. So maybe it's just a little bit of hardball on the part of Jamal Walker, and he needs to leverage and get the most money he can.
Absolutely.
Because he is worth a lot.
Yes.
However much of a price tag you want to put on these individual players, well, you're going to see it in Jamal Walker's salary. But I think it just makes all the sense in the world. Retain him, bring in 2 guys that you want to round out that staff, and with a big assistant coaching staff salary pool to dip into, there's no reason that all 3 of those guys shouldn't be happy.
And on the heels of that, the best executive producer that has ever lived, that's Austin Berkland, just sent this in that Derek Piper, of course, from IlliniInquirer.com, I have a feeling we may visit with him today as well. Piper just said the staff budget is going to be $850,000. That is up from $600,000 with John Gross.
Okay.
I think that is important to note how Josh Whitman has come in and not only changed the not culture, change the direction of programs, and I'm talking football and basketball here, by actually naming new coaches. Lovie Smith on the football side and now Brad Underwood on the basketball side. But it's interesting to me that Whitman immediately targeted the fact and understands the fact that Illinois has to play. You have to pay assistants as well. You have to keep the best guys and get the best staff for the recruiting, for the coaching, the X's and O's to help Coach Underwood, etc. And that's what he's done in both football, especially football, and now in basketball. It looks like that's going to go up $250,000, and that is just strictly money that will be targeted to paying assistant coaches, and that's huge.
It is huge, and it just shows, like with football, that we have a newfound commitment to Illinois basketball. I mean, if we go back to the Ron Gunther era, there were 2 really good head coaching hires. Now, we could have talked about what situation would Bill Self have stayed here, and maybe none.
Right.
That is Kansas. And as we saw again yesterday, That's a pretty good fit.
Yes, it is.
Over there in Kansas for Bill Self and those guys. You ever watch him interviewed and just think, oh
he's unbelievable.
But I do think that's why today, and when we have Coach Underwood here at 4:30 for the Tay and J Show, that there is, and I mentioned this earlier, kind of an understated self-like quality to the way that he talks. It is very no-nonsense, and he's not one, from what I've seen so far, there's not really novelty catchphrases.
Okay.
There are no ladders nor pillars like there was with Tony Bennett. I know that DQ'd Bennett on Friday for me at least.
Exactly.
No pillars. So there's none of that. It's just here's what we do, and we're going to win. And I'm anxious to see how he performs in this first press conference with a bit of a crowd. We'll see how many people show up at the State Farm Center. But to help you visualize it, they have a podium where there is the Traditions Club, and there's that opening right about midcourt.
Okay.
And then they have people allowed to sit in the 200 level around that. So, if it's 1,000 people or something like that, we'll see how many show up. But I think that this is one of those hires that as the weekend went on and people read more about it, they're thinking, you know what, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It fits.
Does it bother you at all? Should it bother you at all that he was at Oklahoma State for 1 year?
No, it doesn't, because when you start looking into why he would have left as quickly as he did, $1 million is somewhat of a slap in the face, but when you're at Stephen F. Austin, and that's the first opportunity that presents itself to you at a pretty good school and a really good basketball conference, you take it.
Yeah.
And you figure out money later. So in a way, it's almost admirable. He took the $1 million paltry salary, at least by Power 5 coaching standards. And there's some clips a couple weeks ago of him talking about his long-term plans for Oklahoma State. You know what, Lon? Call it schadenfreude, whatever you want to. But we've been through this before.
Yes, we have.
We're on the other side of it now.
Yep.
And I like that, because what that says is we are the big boy program. We are the program that is top 15 historically, and we're going to start acting like it. And that means, we can poach a guy from a top 30 program nationally.
I like it.
So that, to me, optics, everything, how I feel about Illinois basketball, it says, we are bigger than Oklahoma State. We're bigger than a lot of programs. And finally, we're starting to act like it.
Isn't it amazing that Josh Whitman, that guy, has given you that thought? It's him alone has given you that thought, that he has come in, and I can recall even back in the day when it was Rick George or Josh Whitman, and that's kind of how it boiled down to those
Craig
two.
Tiley, but he didn't really have interest.
Tom Michael, of course, was the guy that they had talked about, but we sensed he hadn't done it long enough. So it's one of those where we want Rick George. We're going to get Josh Whitman, and we're going to like it because he can run a press conference, and I think he's a human being that you look at and you have confidence in, and everything he's done from that moment on has been unremarkable. I mean, it's just been unbelievable.
It really has been. So
it's been
far,
remarkable.
Perfect marks through his first year so far.
That's exactly right.
You are listening to ESPN 93.5, WSJK Tuscola, as we have live coverage of the initial press conference here for Brad Underwood. Kent Brown is at the podium now, so we'll get going here in about a minute or so. I'm guessing that Josh Whitman will speak first and introduce his new coach. We'll also see tonight the NIT game, 8 o'clock, Boise State. We do have a game.
Right.
Who would have thought?
Right. Busy day for Illinois.
By the way, it does sound like if Illinois and Illinois State meet, it would be a 6 o'clock game on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Okay. Yes. That sounds good. So Kent Brown is at the podium. I'm leaning on you to tell me when to kind of take over here, Mike Carpenter, because you're the one watching it, and we'll get you that. But again, the news, Brad Underwood, Josh Whitman kind of announced it, if you will, on Saturday via the social media circuit, and today he will formally introduce his new basketball coach at the University of Illinois. So Whitman now has made a hire in football, and he's about ready to make his first hire in basketball.
Unlike with football, which he had to sell, here's a proven guy that's going to change the fortunes around. I think the big words you're going to hear today, elite.
Yes.
You're going to hear that multiple times. You already did at Willard Airport on Saturday when both of those guys got back in. And the funny thing is with Brad Underwood, there is a sense when he was saying it, at least watching the video of it, I believed him.
I do too.
I think because when you look at the 10-year window that he was at Western Illinois, Illinois was a top 10, top 12 program in the nation at that point.
He saw that from the outside.
Yeah, his son had a Brian Cook jersey. You'll probably hear about that too. But you know what? Yeah, it used to be cool to be an Illinois basketball fan.
Yeah, believe it or not, kids, it was.
It really did. And this is just a lot of really good timing in regards to the talent you could bring in immediately. And I think it could pay immediate dividends. We'll see. Of course, a question will probably be asked about Jamal Walker. May not get resolution on that, but with an increased salary pool for your assistants, I have to think that Josh Whitman and Brad Underwood, they aren't dummies about it. They know what's up.
I assume Brad Underwood woke up Sunday morning with a smile on his face, knowing he's going to start making $3 million a year instead of $1 million. That's got to be a nice little wake up and remember. Oh, that's right. I'm about ready to sign this deal. It's going to pay me $3 million, and it's time to get working, time to get on the ground and get it rolling.
We might be starting here in just a few seconds. Kent Brown, I believe, may have just introduced Josh Whitman. Okay. I'll give you the thumbs up, and here is your athletic director, Josh Whitman.
Not often I have to move the microphone down, except after I follow Kent at the podium. First of all, I just want to obviously thank everybody. Welcome so many great Illini fans. It's great to have people with us for this very important day in our very bright future for Illinois basketball. It's wonderful to see so many fans with us today as I talked to Coach Underwood and started relaying the interest and the enthusiasm around Illinois basketball. A big part of that was all of you. It was the tremendous support and the enthusiasm that exists for our basketball program, not just in our community, but across our state and really all across the United States. And so very grateful to our fans, to our alums, to our donors. This is a great step forward for our program, and it is just the first step. And certainly we're excited to visit with so many of our Illini Nation and encourage them to take these steps with us and be a part of this incredible basketball tradition, this incredible redevelopment process with the Illini basketball family. A couple words about our process. Men's basketball searches are unbelievably intense, challenging for a few reasons. One, the condensed timeline. Two, the incredible public scrutiny, the interest around the position. And then third, the amount of what I would call patently false information that finds its way out into the universe. And so it makes it very difficult to try and navigate the process and to do so in a way that allows us to reach a prompt and strong conclusion on behalf of our program. Although we didn't use a search firm, I certainly didn't go through this by myself. There are a number of people I'd like to thank by name. It certainly starts with my wife Hope, our daughter Tate. As you can imagine, it's been a pretty intense few days around our household here recently, and even when I've been home, my mind has been elsewhere. I've been on the phone, and so I'm grateful to her for her support during a very difficult and challenging timeline. But she's been unbelievable, as she has been with everything else that we've encountered since we came here just over a year ago. I also want to thank Chancellor Jones, who has continued to be an unbelievable advocate on behalf of our athletic program, wonderful counsel, a great sounding board, has become a good friend, and look forward to working with him and grateful to him for his support. President Colleen as well. You don't make these kinds of changes, you don't advance a program the way that we are today without very strong, what I would call institutional alignment, where people understand and embrace the vision that's put forth, in this case by the athletic director, where the chancellor, the president, and ultimately our board of trustees doesn't buy into that vision. Well, ours does. And we've had different points in time over our history, and all of us who have been around the university for a number of years know that there have been points in time where that hasn't existed. So we need to be grateful for it when we have it, and we have it right now. Chancellor Jones, President Colleen, our board of trustees, they all understand the value of a strong intercollegiate athletic program here at the University of Illinois. They all understand what strong athletics does for the brand and the reputation of our university, for the environment here in our community in Champaign-Urbana, and ultimately for our entire state. And so I can't thank them enough for their support, for their trust. We are taking an unbelievable step with Illinois athletics today in large part because of their support and because of their trust. That alignment was never on more display than our use of the search waiver to facilitate this process. It was certainly something that we knew could become a possibility. We didn't know if it would become necessary. But last week things started to happen in a hurry. Once you saw the job at Indiana come open, once you saw the job at Cal come open, once you saw the job at Washington come open, we recognized that coaches started to get eliminated from the tournament. They became available. Hiring started to be made. We recognized if we waited until midnight tonight, we would be putting ourselves at a competitive disadvantage. And so you saw that institutional alignment again show itself through an understanding that we needed to use a process, the search waiver, to go out and get our coach in a timely way. And I can't thank, again, our university for their support of that necessity. A number of people on our staff, certainly Warren Hood, Paul Kowalczyk, and many other staff members have all been involved in this process at different points in time, and can't thank them enough. We had a successful process here, I think, for three primary reasons. Number one is it was comprehensive. Number two, it was confidential. And number three, it was fast. And in the men's basketball environment, those three things are absolutely crucial to navigating a successful search process. Talk a little bit about the process in particular. You start with a list. And that list, as most of you would guess, is probably not a lot different than some of the lists that anybody would come up with. It's not hard to think of who the candidates for a job like this one should probably be. The next step, though, is much more difficult, and that's the vetting. There's a lot of vetting that goes into all those names that get put on that list. And that vetting occurs in a number of different ways. It happens through a lot of reading. It's amazing how successful and helpful the internet can be when you're doing a search like this. All the information that's out there about different coaches, different candidates. You watch a lot of video, press conferences, when they're mic'd up at practice, how they interact with the media and fans. You watch game film. You talk to people within the industry. I've talked to other athletic directors. You talk to conference officials. You talk to people at the NCAA. In our case, we're very fortunate. We have two incredibly plugged-in basketball alumni, Jerry Colangelo, Manny Jackson, visited with both of them as well. Ultimately, you start talking to agents. You have conversations with candidates, and you start to narrow down your list. Now let's talk about Brad Underwood. As we got into our process, Brad Underwood's name was at the top of that list and has been from the first day. Now what happened was we found ourselves talking around him for a while because we just didn't think that we had a chance to get him, to be very frank about it. We weren't so sure that there was an opportunity for us to attract Brad to come to our university. And so we worked around that for a time, and then ultimately somebody said, why don't we find out if there's an interest? And so last Wednesday, for the first time, we picked up the phone and we called Brad's representative and had a discussion with him, and we were thrilled to learn that the University of Illinois has long been a destination location for Coach Underwood. And I'll let him explain why that is, but certainly as someone who has spent as much time here as I have, who cares as much about this place as I do, as we embarked on this process, it was important to me to find somebody who cares as much about this place as I do, who understands what a special opportunity it is to be the head basketball coach at the University of Illinois, who understands our tradition, who knows what this place can be when it's full and it's orange and it's loud and it's intimidating. And so when I heard that there was that interest from Brad Underwood, from that point it was all about Brad Underwood. What do we need to do to try and put a process in place to bring him here as our next basketball coach? So that led to one call and then another and another. I never had any direct conversations with Brad by text, by phone, in person until Saturday morning. And that was the first time that he and I ever had a chance to visit with each other. And needless to say, we hit it off. I have a lot of shared values, shared expectations, shared dreams about what this basketball program can and should look like, compete like, and how it will represent not just the athletic program, but all of our great fans and our great Illini Nation. So things have happened quickly since then, needless to say. And let me tell you what I love about Brad Underwood. And it's a long, long list. First of all, I love that he's a winner. He's a proven winner. And we tell people that the best predictor of future success is past performance. You look at what his teams have done, and it is nothing short of remarkable. He set records in terms of their on-court performance. He's someone who develops players and develops programs. You look at the programs that he's come into, how they performed before he arrived and how they performed after, and it is remarkably different. remarkably different, and that's not a coincidence. I've talked at length since I came on board here 13 months ago that University of Illinois and Fighting Illini Athletics, we need to hone in on our identity. There's no question that Brad Underwood's teams have a strong identity. It's built on toughness. It's built on intensity. There's a tenacity to the way his teams play that resonates very strongly with me, and I think will resonate very strongly with our fans. And I'm excited about seeing those teams take the court. That bleeds into their style of play. They move fast. They're aggressive. They get in your face on defense. They get the shot up. And it was fun to think about Brad Underwood teams being out here on the State Farm Center court, watching the way they get up and down the floor, watching the way they compete, watching the emotion and the excitement and the enthusiasm about wearing the orange and blue. Brad's someone of highest integrity, someone who has no interest in breaking the rules or running afoul of the ways in which we expect our coaches in our programs to operate. I've always said that we have every intention of winning Big Ten and national championships here at the University of Illinois. When that happens, we never want there to be any question of the means by which those championships were attained. We never have to worry about that with Brad Underwood. He's a teacher. He's someone who stresses relationships with his players, with his staff, with our fans, our community. He's a relationship person. When he gets on that court, he's able to push his guys farther than they ever thought they could go. But the reason he's able to do that is because of the relationship he spent time building with them off the court. And for those of you who've been around high-level athletics, that's really that's the magic dust. That's the key that makes this thing work, is when you have that trust with your student athletes, they know that they care about you. They know that you're invested in them. They'll let you push them. They'll let you take them places that they wouldn't be able to ordinarily go. And I know that Brad Underwood is unbelievable at that. And the last thing, and certainly not the least important, is he cares a lot about the University of Illinois, and he wants to be here. We want people who want to be a part of the Fighting Illini family, who, as I said earlier, who understand and embrace the great tradition, the great opportunity that we have in Illinois basketball and in Fighting Illini athletics. This place is special, and we want people here who understand how special it is. And we found one of those people in Brad Underwood. So, with that, I want to thank Brad, his wonderful wife Susan, his son Tyler, and their daughters Katie and Ashley, and thank them so much for their trust in us, for their confidence in the bright future that we have here, for joining our community and our Fighting Illini family. And please join me in welcoming our new head basketball coach, Brad Underwood.
Now I have to lower it. Thank you. I'm very humbled. I'm very honored to be standing here today. This is a very special moment in my life, one that I was not sure would ever come to fruition. Obviously, a very huge thanks to Chancellor Jones, to Josh, for believing in me, for seeking me out. I'm very appreciative of that. Behind every head coach that has family, there's always a tremendous amount of family support that has to take place. I appreciate you coming along on that trip and getting the opportunity. So I don't want to leave you out, because I know how important that my wife of 29 years is. It's been an incredible journey, and she's been there every step of the way. As you get to know her, you'll find out she's the important one in this relationship. So if Susan would please stand. My son, who will be making his transfer to the University of Illinois, Tyler. Tyler was a redshirt freshman with us at Oklahoma State, and will be making the transfer as well. Tyler, please stand. My oldest daughter, 16-year-old, a junior in high school, Katie, please stand. And my youngest, who is a freshman in high school, Ashley. Without them, none of this is possible. None of it, and to be honest, none of it's worth it. So they are a tremendous resource and someone I'm obviously very, very proud of. A dear friend, representative, agent, but more importantly, a big, big part of my life and a close friend and helped throughout this process, Brett Just. Please stand, Brett. I would be remiss if I did not thank a great group of people at Oklahoma State University. It's a wonderful institution. I leave there with my head held high. They're going to get a terrific basketball coach there. That program is going to continue to move forward, and I thoroughly enjoyed my year there and wish them nothing but continued success, which that program will continue to have. As Josh mentioned, the process was one that it happened very quickly. It's been a whirlwind, and I have a policy that I don't talk to anybody until my season's over, and that's in fairness to our players, the institution that I'm at, and never thought I would leave Oklahoma State. And then I have a conversation with Brett after we get beat by Michigan by 1, and I'm not in a very good mood. And 1-point losses. I'm back-to-back years with 1-point losses in the NCAA tournament. Those are tough. But mentions the University of Illinois and a couple other schools had reached out and been pursuing. And for me, it was no decision. It was something that meant a great deal to me. I spent 10 years in this state from 1993 to 2003. And at that time, I learned how important the Illini Nation was and how powerful. And basketball was special here. And Coach Henson, who I did have a conversation with yesterday, he's been a guy who's reached out to me throughout the course of last season. And I look forward to him coming back in April so we can get together and sit down and visit. And he's been a tremendous resource, and I truly appreciate that. But he had retired. I knew of his success. Then Lon Kruger, Bill Self. We came in here and took a few whoopings in here when I was at Western with those guys coaching. But every young person in this state that played basketball grew up wanting to be a part of this. And it was I thought I was from a basketball state. I really did, in Kansas, where I grew up. Nothing like this. This is the best high school basketball in the country. It's got great coaches. It's got great talent. And the fan support and the community support was something that just made a huge impact on me. And to go to a high school game on Tuesday and Friday night and see town shut down and everybody there. At the time I came here to state tournaments and to see this arena packed made a huge impact. And then to actually come in here as an opponent and have to play made it tremendous memories for me, and those were memories that never left. I've felt this is an elite program. As Josh and I visited, that resonated with me, and I use the term a lot, and you'll hear me. I dream big. It's a cliche that obviously I didn't come up with, but I do. I dream big, and I dream bigger. And winning national championship is something that can happen here. And I want to be a part of that. And I want to help lead this program to that. And when your director of athletics has that same vision, that was important for me. And when you're at an elite program in an elite conference like the Big Ten, and obviously they're having a tremendous NCAA tournament, all things are possible. And that's something that I was drawn to. The only thing that I'm going to say is it's not just about me. It's all about you. We have to do this together, and it's boosters, it's supporters of the program, it's the Orange Crush. Things happen together, and I think the one thing that excites me is when this arena's full, it's one of the greatest home courts ever. It's impactful. I look forward to reaching out and getting to know all of the supporters. I look forward to getting out and hanging out with the Orange Crush and getting to know them. That makes it special when it happens together. And I really look forward to that. I have a couple things philosophically. There's a commitment to winning, and I use this phrase a lot: losing's not an option. And I want our players to believe that. I look forward to building those relationships with our players. I've had one very short conversation with them. I've had a very brief conversation with Jamal. In all fairness, this is about them right now. They're still playing. They're privileged to still have an opportunity to continue to go win games. And I don't want to be a distraction for them at this time. I've told Jamal that same thing. There'll be a time and a place where we'll all continue to visit. But the players will hear that a lot. Losing's not an option. We're going to work to be everyday guys. That's not a basketball term. That's a real life term. We all have to show up and work every day. We have to give our best every day. We ask that for our players, whether that's on the court, whether that's in the classroom, whether that's community relations, big things that impact a program. I'm a culture guy. Our culture is based on work. Our culture is based on family. As my family, the staff we put together, and that will impact our program, it will all be about family. That is something that I don't think there's enough value in. We actually live it, and we talk about it in terms of staying together. We work very hard to create an environment in our locker room where our players are committed to each other, they're dedicated to each other, and they're playing for the name on the front of their jersey, not necessarily the one on their back. In regards to our players, I can't say enough how much I'm looking forward to sitting down with them. Young people come to college with big dreams and aspirations, and they come to reach their goals and to achieve their goals. I look forward to sitting down and finding out what each player's goals are, what they want to do with their careers, what they want to do with their lives. Then we have a base. We can sit down and we can help them achieve those goals. We do it through hard work, as I mentioned. We do it through dedication. I think that will happen. I think you'll see that on the court. The one thing that our teams, I can't tell you we're going to win games. That's so hard to control. Winning is hard. The one thing I can tell you is you will all be proud of what goes on out there. We're going to play hard. We're going to play the right way. We're going to play for each other. We're going to play, like I said, for the name on the front. And that takes not just one, that takes everybody. And we're going to work to strive for that. I like to play up-tempo. I like to be in your face defensively. I like to take advantage of what, on the offensive end, of every option that's available. We weren't the biggest team in the country at Stephen F. Austin. In fact, we were one of the smallest. We weren't the biggest team at Oklahoma State, yet we've always been one of the top rebounding teams. We were top 10 in the country in offensive rebounding this year. We were one of the top free throw shooting teams in the country. all ways to score other than just through offense. We like to play fast. We're one of the top teams in the country in scoring in the first 7 seconds. We're a very good shooting team. There will be a certain skill set that we will recruit to, but we are very committed to a style of play. The one thing I know we will have is we will have an identity on both ends of the court. And that starts with a great foundation, and we will build from there. We may have to tweak some things here and there based on personnel, but we're going to be a team that plays with a lot of passion and shows up to work every single day. I think there's tremendous value, and I would be very remiss, as historic as this program is, if I didn't mention the former players, coaches, managers. Every elite program, and this is an elite program, has a place to recognize their former players and to have them involved. And there's so many of them. My goodness, I wouldn't start to even name them. There's so many. And the great coaches. And there's people behind the scenes and managers that make that all possible. I want our current players to know when their time is done, they have something to be extremely proud of. And they have a place to go that they can always call home. When you have sweat equity in a program, as the former players do, you have great stories. You have great memories. I want the Orange Crush to have memories that take place in this building that they'll talk about for a lifetime. As many of you have great memories of some of the great players that have stepped on that court, I want those people to be a part of Illinois basketball for years to come and feel a part of our program. They're always welcome back. We'll work very, very hard to continue to bring as many of those athletes back, as many of those players, coaches, as we can. To them, they built this. They're the reason I'm standing here. I'm an old school historian from that aspect. The tradition and culture of this program is why I stand here today. Those guys impacted me. And they made this program special. And I'm excited to be your basketball coach. I look forward to seeing this arena packed. I look forward to hearing the Orange Crush get loud. And again, I'm truly the blessed one. Thank you. Go Illini.
Brad, JeremyWarnerScout.com. I guess I got to be the first one to welcome. You talked about your identity, style of play. Josh said that was really important for you. How did that evolve? How did you get to your style and identity?
Well, I was such a bad defender as a player that I figured I better emphasize the defensive end when I became a coach. Now, I think I've been very blessed. I've been around a lot of very good coaches, playing for Jack Hartman, obviously a stint with Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, Jim Kerwin I spent 10 years with at Western Illinois, all had distinctive styles. They fit my personality. And even back when I was a junior college coach, I played an aggressive style on the defensive end. And I liked the thought of not allowing teams to do what they practice every single day. If I can take them out of it, I think I can beat them. Analytics play a big part of what we do on the offensive end. The game is changing. None more evident than our Michigan game. We out-rebound Michigan by 20. We shoot 55%. In old-term basketball, that was a win. And we had 9 turnovers. In today's game, that was a lot. And what did we play? The other day we lost. Game's changing a little bit. So analytics and all that play into it. The scouting's so good. The other coaches are so good. But I've taken a lot of what I've learned from different people, to make a long, short answer, and tried to make it fit my personality.
Hey, go over here.
Yes.
Hi, Paul M. Banks, thesportsbank.net. You alluded to the elite level of talent within the state. how much of recruiting the state, especially Chicago and the Chicagoland area, will be a priority?
Well, there's no question that this state produces a lot of elite talent, and we're the University of Illinois, and Chicago, downstate, wherever. We want the best players in this state to come to this university. So we're going to do everything we can to recruit those players. So keeping players at home is a vital part of any program success. But here, we have a plethora of good players, and keeping them here is very, very important to us.
Hi, Coach. Welcome. Mark Tupper from Decatur. My question's a little bit to do with Jeremy's question. You've worked for guys we're going to get to continue to see in the tournament here as we go along, it looks like. And when I think about West Virginia and South Carolina, I think about teams that other people don't want to play, and they're uncomfortable playing those guys. Is that something that you try to bring to your teams as well?
Well, I think Coach K said it best about Frank's game last night at halftime. He said that's the best defensive team we've seen all year. And there's a sense of toughness that scares people, to be quite honest. I think it comes from a commitment by the head coach to work on that end and to emphasize that. I was extremely happy for Frank. That's a 6-year process in terms of a rebuild that he's gone through there, and to get to the Sweet 16. Hugs is a Hall of Fame coach, and his teams are physical, and it's a big part of what we do in terms of getting our athletes in the weight room, helping them become the best athletes they can be. And you'll lay a foundation, we'll lay a foundation, and we'll do everything we can to become that as quickly as we can.
Julio Alceos, SportsTownChicago.com. During your time at Western Illinois, what did you learn about basketball in the state of Illinois in terms of the players, the passion from campuses and the audience, but secondarily in terms of recruiting in the state? How important is to rebuild a relationship through the coaching ranks, going to tournaments, not just in Chicago, but across the state?
It's huge. The coaching business is nothing more than relationships. And I'm very fortunate. I've been in it 30 years now. So I've been able to develop a lot of relationships. And even when I was not in the state was always a part of our recruiting process. And the passion you mentioned, that's important. The way I like to recruit, I'll be honest, you all may care sometimes if they're 4-star, 5-star. I don't. Recruiting to me is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder, and it's about putting pieces to a puzzle together, and the identity that you create and the passion. The other thing is, we always recruit here because of how well these young men are coached. There's tremendous high school coaching here. That doesn't happen everywhere. You take it for granted because you're here. Believe me, it doesn't happen everywhere. And so when you can get young people that are prepared and have been through the rigors of being coached and taught the fundamentals, that's pretty important to me.
Coach Stephen Cohn, Daily Illini. So the former coaching staff was able to put together one of the top recruiting classes in the country. What's your plan going forward to talk to them and try to get them to stay here committing to the university?
Well, that's an ongoing process, and we've reached out to each and every one of them, and we've made contact. It's a process that it's them getting to know me introducing myself, and as soon as possible, we will be getting in front of them and talking about what our vision is for the program, how we see them, and we'll move from there. But absolutely, it's very talented, and it's a group that we'd like to see out on that court every day.
You've mentioned that this has been a whirlwind for you. What happened between Saturday and your conversation with Josh? What kind of things did you guys talk about that kind of solidified your decision?
He's a tremendous salesman in terms of how proud he is. His pride in this university is incredible, and that exudes, and that resonates. And I have tremendous value in that. I put tremendous stock in that, and he didn't have to sell me. As soon as I found out and talked to Brett, there wasn't. But we will win. That's what I'm about. Winning and losing affects my personal life. My wife will tell you that. It affects hers too. But it's important when you have your boss believe that and the commitment that they make to being successful in all sports. That's very, very important. And I didn't need any more than that. I knew the history. I knew the tradition. I knew the great players. I knew how good this conference is. That's the reason.
Brad Sturdy with Rivals.com. We're about 4 weeks from the first open evaluation period in the spring. How soon do you expect to have your staff in place?
That's a daily process we're going through. My biggest concern right now is they're still playing. I need to let them achieve. This is about the student athletes and their opportunity. Then we can continue to visit with them. Obviously I'll have a conversation with Jamal. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the job that he's doing in a hard situation. That's not easy. And to get a win and to continue moving forward, that's very impressive. But we'll continue to do that on a daily basis and sort through all of the things we need to do there. We won't have a good staff. We'll have a great staff here.
Coach, congratulations. Jim Mattson from Channel 25 in Peoria. Why has your offense been so successful everywhere you've been? And talk about the 7-second shooting philosophy.
It's the weakest part, numerically and analytically, it's the weakest part of the defense. Teams struggle in transition from one end of the court to the other. And it's really not that complicated. Just get your guys to run really hard and play hard. And then we try to take advantage of the offensive glass as another opportunity to score. And again, I'm of the philosophy, the closer you are to the basket, the better chance you have to score. Well, you get offensive rebounds, you're not facing the defense, and we stress that a great deal. We stress running the floor very hard, taking those opportunities. We practice that way. But if it's not there, I'm a big believer in late in the shot clock and making the defense move. And we've been one of the most efficient teams, even when I was at Stephen F., because of ball movement, because of our ability to take advantage of mismatches, and then our ability to play quickly.
Sky Ritchie with the Champaign News-Gazette. What maybe did you know about the players you're going to inherit before you got the job, and what have you been able to learn in, 48 hours?
Well, I think one of the hardest challenges, I saw them play one time. One of the hardest challenges you have as a head coach is it is very hard to, I watch very little other basketball, especially when you're in conference play. You are so dialed in and was dialed in on every opponent in the Big 12 and games come upon quickly, and I didn't watch a lot. I really didn't. You see some teams early. We were in Maui this year. I saw Wisconsin. I saw Oregon. Some of those teams, but didn't have a lot in terms of being able to watch them. They obviously played Michigan. We had Michigan in the first round. I watched that game. And again, didn't pay a whole lot of attention to Illinois in that game as I was looking at the other. But I'm excited. I've looked at numbers. I haven't watched any film yet. I will do that and evaluate. But more importantly, I'm looking to sit down and visit with them. That way I can have I can get a feel of their goals and we can go from there.
Hey, Brett Barrett's WCI here, Champaign. We had said
that this was been a dream for you, or at least that's what it sounded like. Did you envision yourself being here at some point in your career? Has this been something you've been looking forward to, or did you set out all along to say, hey, I want to be the Illinois men's basketball coach?
Well, my wife told my son he'd always go to school here, and that's the truth. His first jersey was a Brian Cook jersey, and so it was impactful that way. I think the timing of this was maybe very unique. Like I said earlier, I didn't know I would ever leave Stillwater. Wonderful place, but you hope, in the back of your mind. But you're never. I guess in coaching, you sometimes the unexpected is happens, and this was truly the case. And like I said, I'm truly blessed because this is a place that I have tremendous value in.
Hey, Coach, Gordon White from WA&D. There's at least one player here that's going to be on your team that I know of. What's his skill set and what's your relationship like professionally and once you guys go home?
Wow, is that a loaded question? If I don't get this right, I have to deal with his mother. Tyler was a redshirt freshman for us. He right at the end of his high school career tore his ACL, and he's a combo guard, can play both. He's very heady. He's very cerebral. He's a very, very good shooter. Best thing he does is pass. The most important thing for him is the weight room. He got his mother's body, thank goodness, and not mine. But he's actually a junior academically, and in a fabulous spot. A wonderful young man, and a future coach. So I'm truly the blessed one in this relationship. He gets it every day in practice, but every single day in practice, I get to go see my son, and that's doesn't happen very often. That's very special, and it's sure not something I take for granted.
Rob McCauley from Illini Report. Jamal spoke yesterday about the first time he met you. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, he was really young. I'm impressed that he could remember that far back. Jamal was from Wichita, Kansas, and he was a very, very good player. And at the time, I was a junior college coach in Kansas, and we had rules and limitations in the junior college ranks in Kansas. We had to have so many in-state players, and he was one of the better ones. And so I was actively involved in watching his games. His team was very, very good and had a bunch of players. So I don't know, he might have been 15, 16. He was pretty young. So, but and then I've as we all do in the coaching fraternity, we bump into each other on the road, and always. I probably didn't do a very good job recruiting him because I didn't get him, but he went on to a tremendous career and has turned into a tremendous basketball coach.
Can I ask about the Dodge City stint that you had? Because you basically were 500 there versus SFA where you barely lost at all. So what did you learn about winning or developing teams between those two? Well, what were the circumstances behind all that?
Well, completely different jobs, I think, in terms of, I'll say this. I was 24 years old when I got the job, and you think you know something then, and you realize you don't. And I think you get better, and that's we had very good players. I think the one thing I had to do there was prove that we could recruit, and we did that. At that time, junior college basketball was very, very good. It was special. Every team had 3-4 high major players on it, and I think I grew as a coach. I grew as a person that understood what was important. I identified more with character and the important things. Sometimes those weren't the qualities that you could get at the junior college level, but and then at Stephen F. It was a very, very good job. They had a tradition of success. That culture helped. And then you coach good players. You coach a Thomas Walkup. You coach a Jacob Parker who became league MVPs. You recruit young men we started are freshmen every year. But we developed a culture, and I think that's the biggest thing that you don't do at the junior college level. You don't have enough time. You may only have some of those guys a year, whereas you establish a culture in a 4-year program.
Coach Derek Piper with Scout.com. Could you talk a little bit more about the type of player you're looking to recruit and how you go about identifying fits to your system?
You're not winning here or at this level without good players. I think that's an obvious. But I think there's another component that is we want skilled players. I think they fit. We've been tremendous shooting teams. I think you have to put the ball in the basket to win. And I think there's a certain level of athleticism, but I do think that character wins. And I do think basketball IQ wins. In this state, you got great coaches, so you get a basketball IQ level that can be better than most. I think that guys that are motored up, that are competitive, that play for the right reasons, that becomes more challenging today, to be very honest. And you've got an AAU system that we all go recruit, but they get 3 games a day, and so the winning is something we look for, and we search that out a great deal. We do a lot of in-depth work, not just looking at talent. Evaluation process for my staff is extremely important. It's just not picking up a name off a scouting report. And we're going to see them, and we're going to make sure that they fit the piece to the puzzle that we're looking for at that particular position.
Thank you, Coach. Josh, we'll have a photo opportunity with Coach and Josh, and we'll break up for one-on-ones.
All right, that is the press conference now concluded at the State Farm Center, Illinois. Josh Whitman, athletic director, welcomes in Brad Underwood, the new Illinois basketball coach. Josh Whitman did not take questions there, obviously, but probably will afterwards. And Jeremy will be there for that, and we'll hear more about that today on the Tay and J Show.
Right now, there's a little bit of a photo op with Josh Whitman and the new coach, Brad Underwood. And we'll see if Whitman takes any questions here. If so, we might pod that back in.
Okay.
Looks like they are walking off the podium now. And thinking about that press conference, beforehand, I was talking about how there is this sort of the personality that I see with Underwood here. And having watched this, having listened to it, he is a straight shooter,
right,
that is not ridden with cliches.
No.
There's not really any catchphrases. He talked about, I forget what the question was or the answer, but I was afraid he was going into, here's a few of my mottos.
Exactly.
Well, the motto was losing is not an option.
Right.
Okay.
I like that.
I can take that.
I like that.
In other words, that's a bit of a respite from the constant, every season you had a new motto or a new mantra. You don't really have that here. And then I love when he was asked basketball questions and talked about what his philosophy was. The first 7 seconds of the shot clock being the easiest to score because the defense isn't ready.
Yeah, and what was one thing Illinois was horrible at last year was transition defense. And not just Illinois was bad at it. A lot of teams are bad at it, and that's what he pointed out.
Yeah.
And that's what he tries to take advantage of. So I think the thing that the younger crew will like, I know Jeremy probably just ate this up, the whole analytical that the older people of America now have to get used to, whether it be baseball and war or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he is showing and saying that means so much, even in college basketball. And he pointed out his loss to Michigan, that they did everything right. They out-rebounded them by 20. They only had 9 turnovers. They shot 55%, yet we lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
So probably what he's talking about there is the three-point line. I mean, there's a lot of analytics to that, to where you figure out what is the best shot for you and your team. Is it a 14-footer? No. It's a three-pointer or maybe down around the basket.
It's funny when you have hirings like this, and right now the press conference has officially concluded. He is meeting with individual reporters now, so I'm sure Jeremy will have some more for the Tay and J Show, which regularly scheduled 3 to 6, and Coach Underwood and Josh Whitman will be in studio about 4:30.
Awesome.
A couple things. Aesthetically, his voice.
Right.
Different.
In
other words, normal voice.
Yeah.
He's a normal guy.
That's exactly
He's
right.
a Midwestern guy. With John Gross, I think there was this feeling of we got this young up-and-coming guy, fingers crossed,
Sure.
the diamond in the rough, and even though the numbers didn't exactly bear it out, there was enough other things to make you think, well, this might be different enough. This might work. In that way, this is I don't want to say safe hire in a negative way.
I know what you're saying.
But when I say safe hire in regards to Underwood, I feel as if his ceiling is not very low. That if he just has good talent on that team, you're making tournaments. I mean, 4 out of 4 years. And that was Stephen F. Austin for 3 of them.
Right.
And he even won a couple games of Stephen F. Austin in the tournament. And the 2 last games that he's lost in the NCAA tournament by combined 2 points.
Ugh.
This is a good coach.
Yes, it is.
And that, first and foremost, and I know Jeremy's been harping on this, even when we talk about the recruiting class. How do you keep them? Do you keep Jamal Walker, etc.? But ultimately, the biggest thing was you need to get a good coach. And today, as we said here, it feels like, yes, Illinois has a coach that is on par with the better ones in the Big Ten. I have not been able to say that for a long time.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair. And when you look at the last 2 hires, you took a Bruce Weber, of course, that was at SIU. He was at a mid-major. You took a John Gross that was at a mid-major. Theoretically, Brad Underwood was close to being from a mid-major, obviously, with Stephen F. Austin, but he had that 1 year at Oklahoma State, so there's a little difference with regards to that. I agree with you with what you're saying. He seems like a normal guy.
Right.
The one thing that sticks out to me is I feel like he's got some toughness. He does have a little bit of that Frank Martin, that Bob Huggins, kind of that no-nonsense of this is how we're going to do it. You know, like losing isn't an option, guys.
There is major confidence behind him.
Yes.
And I mentioned no nonsense earlier, but yeah, I mean, even when he landed on Saturday, we're going to win.
Yeah.
We're going to win. He said it twice. And what I like, too, is that, you know, it's not some sort of rah-rah personality. You had a little bit of that with John Gross, and I'll be anxious to talk to Jeremy about the atmosphere that was there today. They did let people in there, similar to how it was open for John Gross when they made his announcement as well. But, you know, it's not really rah-rah, but there is something about a steady hand as your leader. Someone that is not really easily flustered, pretty unflappable, and just exudes this sort of cool, steely confidence.
Yes.
That, yeah, I'm going to get this done. Yes, I'm going to out-prepare the other guy. Plain and simple. And that is a unique position to be in, because for 5 years, and really if we go back towards the end of the Weber era, Weber did not have confidence in his own ability, I don't think.
I agree with you.
And John Gross didn't have confidence in his own ability, as evidenced by the fact that, you know, too often he didn't really know, in press conferences, you could tell he didn't know what direction to go.
Right.
Brad Underwood says, this is my philosophy. I am adaptable. But for the most part, these are the things on which we will build our identity. And he laid that out. This team's going to play fast. They're going to put up a lot of shots.
Yep.
They're going to try to get a lot of those high percentage shots on offensive rebounds and around the rim, which Illinois has struggled terribly at the last few years. And just think about how many more wins you'd get if you could just get some garbage buckets within 3 feet of the hoop.
Amen.
They're right there for you.
Amen. And that helps. And that's what he said. He kind of joked and said, when you're that close to the bucket, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good shot.
Yeah, high percentage shot. Yeah.
High percentage shot. We learned a few things today. We learned kind of how the process went with Josh Whitman. It sounds like his name, Brad Underwood, was on his list among others. And when he started kind of doing some research, I found it interesting that Josh Whitman said they basically worked around him, that they didn't necessarily go after Brad Underwood early because they probably thought, well, he's only been at Oklahoma State a year. He probably wouldn't have much interest in leaving. But then they finally went around those back channels, and it sounds like with a gentleman named Brett Just.
Yes.
And he was the one that kind of went up to Underwood. And this is the other thing. I mean, we hear a lot about how, this had to have been working out in the back for a few weeks. Well, maybe that's the case, but it sounds like, unless he's lying to us right off the bat, it sounds like Brad Underwood did not hear about the Illinois interest until after his loss to Michigan, and then immediately was very interested in this. And then, of course, Josh sat down with him Saturday for the first time, and it moved quickly from there, obviously, because by Saturday there were pictures out about him being the next coach at Illinois. The other thing, the recruits that are coming in, he said he's made contact with all of them, and he's going to have, hopefully a better chance to do that here in the coming days. I would assume that they'll have a chance to go down and visit personally with all of these recruits, including Mark Smith, the one that is not verbal or committed. And then, of course, he talked about this team this year. He said, I'm not messing with that. They're still playing. This is what it's all about. Jamal Walker and I have spoken briefly. He said, but they've got more important things, including a game tonight at 8 o'clock against Boise State. And then he'll have a chance to really sit down with this current team and talk to them.
Yeah, and I think he was also including the whole Jamal Walker questions. Anytime someone was trying to get an indication if Jamal would be on the staff, he kept naming out Jamal, saying he's doing a great job with this. What I read that as, and this is a total prediction without any evidence behind it, but I would have to think that, yes, he plans on Jamal being on the staff.
Yes.
He will get paid whatever he needs to now that you have that increased salary pool for assistants, which might be around $300,000 for Jamal, which, from what I understand, I think would be a significant upgrade from where he was before.
Assume, yeah.
And then I need to also give credit to, and as an alum, this is particularly exciting for me, is that Josh Whitman referenced institutional alignment.
Right.
And he thanked personally the Chancellor Robert Jones and President Killeen. And let's even go back to Barbara Wilson, who
hired Josh Whitman.
Yes, for a few months, caught the ire of Illinois fans, myself included, that thought, oh God, here we go again. We have people that don't know what they're doing. And you know what? Worst case scenario, it was dumb luck that they got a guy like Josh Whitman. But here's the thing: they got Josh Whitman, and now they're letting him operate with whatever he needs to do to go out and get these guys. When they got that waiver through as quickly as they did on Saturday, that is something that I don't know if we see back in the days of. Oh, God, who hired Mike Thomas? It was Chancellor Phyllis Wise,
right?
And whoever the president was. We've had about 8 of them this millennium. So there is something relaxing about feeling as if the higher-ups of this university finally get it.
Yep.
And, certainly this university is about academics. Blah, 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 not to discount that.
Right.
But if we talk about the front porch of your institution, what we've seen in the course of a year is an Illinois athletic program that went from complete irrelevancy to the point where fans were apathetic.
Yes.
To now a period where, I think we have this figured out.
Right.
Now you got to win games, but I think on the basketball side of it, I feel very confident they're going to do that. And if they keep these recruits, I have no reason to think this team's not going to be fun immediately.
Yep. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how he recruits. With Brad Underwood, he spent, again, the 10 years, he said, from 93 to 03. He was an assistant at Western Illinois. I believe all of his kids, and he's 3, were born in the state of Illinois at that time. So I think he has some fond memories for this state. I know Brett Behrens from CIA asked him point blank, was this always a dream job? He kind of sidestepped that, which is fine. I think he tried to not only sidestep the fact that, no, this probably wasn't a job that one day, that's what I want to do more than anything in the world. But he also was trying to be kind of nice to Stillwater and Oklahoma State.
Sure.
In the sense of saying, I never thought I'd leave there. So it is interesting that he has the background a little bit in the state of Illinois. For those worried about recruiting, because we really honestly don't know much about his recruiting. He recruited for Bob Huggins. He recruited for Frank Martin. So he has been able to help pull in some really good classes. He did that at Kansas State and, of course, at West Virginia. No, South Carolina.
That's right.
My fault, South Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I liked, too, that he really had a lot of good to say about high school basketball in the state of Illinois. And he basically said, what's great about recruiting Illinois is by the time these kids get to college, they've already been coached well.
Yeah.
And he said, I think his quote was, you guys, meaning us, fans, media, et cetera, take it for granted as to how good the coaching is in Illinois. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Illinois high school coaches are better than another state's high school coaches, but it certainly was a nice feather to send out to all the high school coaches in the state of Illinois to say, hey, I think you're doing a tremendous job.
Olive branch, here you go.
Exactly.
We want your guys.
Exactly.
I value your coaching abilities. Amen. And I think there was a lot of talk about Illinois, the program, its identity, and really kind of building this state again as something where Illinois is the destination school, which it has not been for far too long. We got a lot of programming today. Tay and J Show from 3 to 6. Coach Underwood and Josh Whitman will be here around 4:30.
Can't wait for that.
We also have Sean Harrington, the 5 o'clock hour. We are going to have a former player, I believe.
We're efforting that. A lot of you guys that watch the Stephen F. Austin teams, that Thomas Walkup, who is their best player, we're efforting him in the Tay and J Show to kind of see if he liked the style that Coach Underwood.
And then also the 200 level tonight at 6 o'clock. And then that will lead you to 7 o'clock. And then you can go over to the State Farm Center for some second round NIT action, Boise State, where I'm sure Coach Underwood will speak at halftime.
So a minor break, couple hours, and we'll be back, Jeremy and I, right here for the Tay and J Show. Again, Coach Brad Underwood will be in studio at 4:30, Josh Whitman as well. Look forward to seeing you there. It is the Tay and J Show.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. 2 high-profile hearings on Capitol Hill.
I'm not going to talk about any particular person here today.
FBI Chief James Comey in the hot seat at a House hearing, saying neither the FBI nor the Justice Department has any evidence to support President Trump's wiretapping claim against President Obama. Comey also confirming there is a probe of possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, but he would not say whether classified leaks are being investigated. NSA Director Mike Rogers says they take leaks very seriously.
Part of the ethics of our profession
question not just the legal requirement, but the ethics of our profession as intelligence professionals is we do not engage in this activity.
Republicans suggesting Democrats may try to undermine upcoming reauthorization of a key surveillance law. President Trump's Supreme Court nominee is waiting his turn at a confirmation hearing, which could last for a few days. Fox Radio's John Decker, live in Washington.
While Chuck Grassley, the Republican chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, praised Judge Neil Gorsuch for what he called an unfailing commitment to the principle of separation of powers, Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont was more skeptical of President Trump's Supreme Court nominee.
I need to know that you understand the role of the courts in protecting the rights of all Americans. I need to know that you can be an independent check and balance on the administration that's nominated you and on any administration that might follow it.
Judiciary Committee members will make opening statements today with Q&A with Judge Gorsuch scheduled to begin tomorrow. A full committee vote on Gorsuch has been set for April 3rd. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Tom Brady's missing Super Bowl jersey is found in Mexico, along with another one from the 2015 Super Bowl.
For the people that did this, you don't come to Texas and embarrass us here in our home turf.
Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo says a tip led to the discovery. A Mexican newspaper company says one of its former executives is involved. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Blue the dog here for propane. Making the rounds with my owner, the propane man, has allowed me to see a lot. I may just be a simple dog. I didn't attend the elite boarding kennels, and you'll never see me on Barking with the Stars. But I do know that propane is the smart fuel that lets millions of Americans live where they want and how they want. It's clean, reliable, and powers modern appliances from tankless water heaters to high-efficiency furnaces. Learn more at proudlypropane.com.
5 times more hires are made through Indeed.com than any other job site, according to independent research. Imagine a lottery that had 5 times more winners, or a Sunday with 5 times more touchdowns. When you're hiring, it makes 5 times more sense to use Indeed. Right now, we're giving new users a $50 credit to post a sponsored job on the world's #1 job site. Claim your $50 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
President Trump firing off a string of tweets about today's intelligence hearing, at one point asking, what about all of the contact with the Clinton campaign and the Russians? The president heads to Kentucky later today for his 3rd rally since taking office, focused on health care.
The White House says it's really a chance to take the president's message directly to the people about his efforts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Critics argue that the over 1 million Kentuckians who are already covered by Medicaid would be at risk of losing their coverage if the GOP plan becomes law. Kentucky, you may remember, overwhelmingly supported Mr. Trump during the election. At the White House, Kevin Court, Fox News.
The U.S. Supreme Court hearing arguments in a property rights dispute that could make it tougher for state and local governments to limit development near waterways. A family wanting to sell part of its riverfront land in Wisconsin says conservation rules stripped the land of its value, and the government owes them compensation. The federal government finds problems with the way police in Minnesota handled protests after a controversial and deadly police shooting.
After Jamar Clark, a black man, was shot and killed during a confrontation with 2 white Minneapolis police officers in November 2015, there were a lot of protests, including an 18-day standoff outside a Minneapolis police precinct. There were even skirmishes between demonstrators and officers. A Justice Department review concluded the city did not have a coordinated response and did not have a plan for managing such a long-term civil disturbance. The officers involved in Clark's shooting were never charged, saying they feared for their lives as he tried to get one of their guns. Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Checking Wall Street stocks turning lower. It's not a sell-off, though. The Dow right now is down 10 points, still just over 20,900. Oil prices also lower, still holding above $48 a barrel. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
oh my God, this is so bad about some of the calls.
Yes.
Then we find out it's
before the goaltending call.
Yes.
Way before.
Right,
the
right,
calls
right.
weren't that
Okay.
bad.
He's the AD's kid.
Yep.
So he's a little closer to this, just your average
Right.
9 a.m. SportsCenter host.
You are right. He's in the third row. Like, he's got a great seat. It's a fantastic seat.
So what did you tweet out about the kid?
All I tweeted out was a video of the kid after the game was over, and I said, oh, that's too bad. Like, feel sorry for
That's
him.
it? That's all you said?
All I did. Oh, that's too bad.
Is that true?
And
I feel like I have to double check.
One of my most proud moments as a parent was when I was videoing it, because I did have to video it off my TV. My daughters
I thought you just
were
stole
like,
it from a blog.
No, I didn't do that. It was actually my
That's
video.
what everybody else does.
And if you listen to it really closely, my daughter actually goes, Dad, why is he acting like that? Like,
Which
why
daughter?
is he doing that one? I think it was Dylan. I think it was my middle one.
Dylan's
She's sensitive. Yeah, and she is smart. Somebody needs to teach him how to act. But I didn't
Okay.
make fun of him. I didn't make fun of the braces. I didn't do any of that.
All right. Let me double check. I'm going over your Twitter feed here.
All right.
Randy Scott, Northwestern grad, proud grad.
Hey, congrats on the run.
Disappointed. He joins us now. All right, Randy, I'm going to get out of the way here.
No, it's just it's so maddening trying to pin you down, Danny. Like, because before we even talk, you're like 1,000 miles away because you're backpedaling so fast. You're like, no, I didn't. I was sincerely like, I felt so bad for the kid. Oh, too bad. Like, in the context of your tweet barrage, you were making fun of you were using the kid to make fun of the loss. And like, yeah, you don't have to point out the braces. Like, it's anybody with eyes can kind of see he's not killing it as an 11-year-old.
I think it looks great.
And you're just piling on. And like, I sincerely hope he's not on Twitter. I doubt he is. But like, and you weren't the only one. There were so many others who were taking it farther and being worse about it. It was just like, at the end of the day, like, what are we making fun of this kid? Like, he cares? Like, he's a sports fan? Like, that's what we need. We need a generation of that kid to keep the lights on in Bristol. Like, we need that.
So
that's a good point.
You said, your kid's just being a kid, doesn't know he's on TV. He's now going to have a tough time at school, and it's not his fault. I would contend the exact opposite. This kid is going to be walking the hallways, high-fiving people at school. This kid is now famous. People love him.
What if
he's
he's
been
homeschooled?
called on the USA Today wrote an article. He's March Madness hero. Chicago Tribune says he's the Northwestern kid, wins the internet. He's a hero now.
A lot of 11-year-olds have USA Today subscriptions, Danny. You're absolutely right. Like, they're just going to
watch
feed
TV.
into the PR machine there.
But they
No,
watch
what
TV.
Dude, Danny, like, not everybody maybe had your 11-year-old existence, like where maybe you were this golden arm prodigy of the Pee Wee League. Like, he's probably had it a little rough, right? Like, ginger, he's got the braces, he's got rubber band braces. He doesn't even have like regular braces. He's got rubber band braces, and CBS is plastering him as a go-to cheap. Like, I honestly, like, I don't want to guess what they were thinking in that truck. I don't want to go to that point, but they didn't need to do it that many times. And then, like, we got grown men, grown women, like, kind of bashing him on Twitter. Like, there's a bar somewhere.
Danny
dude.
definitely bashed him, by the way. I went back and looked at his tweet. It says, "Aw, that's too bad."
Yeah.
In Cannell language, it's 100% you making fun of Northwestern and using the kid.
That is not.
That's so not true.
Obviously,
Like,
he's had a rough time being the athletic director's kid. Probably tough time getting tickets to the third row, flying out to Salt Lake City to watch the team on the road. That's a totally different thing.
Are you saying white privilege
with
now?
Randy. I will agree with Randy on this because I thought the producer in the truck, and I've been there calling games, and producers go too far. I thought they should have had the initial one, like, no problem, showing the passion the first time, but they went back to him way too many times where he did become the story of the game, more so. Like, I agree with you there, but I don't think there was any malicious intent from the people, and I think the kid is going to be okay. Like, he'll probably be on Fallon or Kimmel or whatever others. Like, he'll be somewhere if he wants to. Definitely, he's been.
If he
called.
wants to, that's true. That's fair. But like,
and hopefully he does. Hopefully he capitalizes on it.
He'd be smart too. I mean, and maybe